Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cactus Patch. My name is Glitch Cactus, but you can call me Cactus. And today we have a very exciting episode. Today we're going to be discussing a very popular topic in the community right now: weapon and special limitations for future and current tournaments. And joining me about this topic is the man who's never afraid to share his opinion, whether that be on Twitter, YouTube, or his Twitch, Stormy Senpai. Stormy, how you doing?
Yeah, you already know we up in here. We up in this bit. I'll play. Let me stop. Let me stop. I'm gonna try to declare so much because I am on Dapple. So I'm gonna try to respect Alice and her wishes. she ain't say nothing. She probably doesn't care, but I'm gonna try not to cuss. But it may slip here and there. But yeah, what's good? What's good? You already know what it is. Your boy Stormy Senpai.
And for those who maybe somehow don't know you, Stormy, give us a little about yourself, what you do, who you are, all the fun stuff.
All right. Well, let's start with the main thing. Most of everybody knows me as that hood commentary guy. For those that know, every Ludy season I do this thing called hood commentary, where the commentary we commentate sets, and we just basically the most unhinged commentary we think of. We cuss, we say what we want, we roast people, we roast the gameplay, we get on everybody, everything you do there. So that's where most people, mostly they know me. They know me as a hood commentary guy. I am also a competitive player. I am the captain of Persistence mid level, working on getting higher. I'm also a content creator. I do things on YouTube, and I also am a streamer. So I do stream every now and then. So do follow my Twitch at Stormy Senpai too if you want to check out some crazy streams with some unhinged commentary and other things. And that's about it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. As someone who knows firsthand how Persistence runs as a previous member myself, and of course being one of the first guests on Hood Commentary, you definitely want to be keeping an eye on Stormy. Stormy's got some amazing stuff coming out, amazing videos. It's been a little bit, but you dropped that banger montage. Don't think I didn't forget about that. I see you with that. I'm cooking up one myself. I gotta compete with you there.
Thank you, thank you. You already know me. You both go back and forth on those montages, but yeah, no, appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, of course. All right. So, of course, the main topic for today, right? The weapon and special limitations. This kind of has been a thing since Splatoon 2 with how Stingray was a problem, missiles were a problem,
Mm-hmm.
armor was a problem, and only recently kind of got a lot of popularity thanks to Pro Chara's charity event with the $30 limitation tournament, where you had 30 quote unquote dollars to make a comp with certain weapons priced at certain price points. And it really opened up the eyes and made the tournament exciting to watch because it wasn't just double Zuka spam, GG, you're done. It wasn't pencil spam
Mm-hmm.
24/7. It was actually just opening the quote unquote meta to new changes and new opportunities. And I know Popgun mentioned on his Popcast just the idea of tournaments like Low Ink and Proving Grounds and tournaments that are run by IPL and even some tournaments run by Dapple Productions to maybe incorporate this idea moving forward. So first thing I do want to ask Sorby is, what are your thoughts in general about maybe seeing that Pro Chart event, right? The $30 tournament, how things were limited, how certain weapons were certain amounts that you couldn't really spam certain things. How did you feel about like seeing something like that?
It was really exciting to see, and it was really definitely fun to watch. I always enjoy those little gimmick tournaments. That's what they're called. I always enjoy them. And so if we were to make them like, basically like a mainstay, it would definitely make it a lot more interesting. Like I'm watching Jackpot or Jared from Jackpot play H3, and I'm watching the other members from I forgot who their opponents were in grand finals, but it was like Goss, Yosho, and I think but they all were running H3 for
Mm-hmm.
the cooler, and I'm like, wow. So we go to A Street for cooler,
Yeah, it
like
was
that. Like,
interesting.
yeah, no, it makes sense though, considering that you want that cooler, and it was like a
Yeah,
very cheap option. It's like the best you can get.
yeah,
So yeah, no, it was definitely interesting to see. It was very fun to watch.
yeah. And I know, like, we're seeing it even now. Like this weekend, Kyo is putting their own tournament on. It's being hosted on Sendu Inc. The Glaze Gauntlet, amazing name, where you're
I love
limited
that name. Love
limited
that
to
name, bro.
one Zuka. You're limited to one Crab. You're limited to one Cooler. There's no Pencil, no E-Leader, no Splat Charger. Squiffer, Bamboo, and Gootuber are allowed. It is Splat Zones only, and to my knowledge, it is currently at a prize pool of $450, originally starting at
Goodness.
only $100, but thanks to a lot of amazing members in the community, we have risen that up, and already we have some amazing teams signed up for it. Of course, you have Jackpot. You have a team called Melody with players like Rob, Takimi, Ellis, and another name I can't really fully pronounce. You look like you have some members of Starburst under a name called Specialized Extracurricular Exec. You have Biscuit, Bagel, and of course we see Tranquility here. I believe that's Goss, I believe. Um,
Mm.
the names not coming up that top of my head. We do see In Control Red Sun is even competing in this as well. So it's a lot of strong teams coming off the bat signed up for this tournament. And it's exciting to see it take place. Now, of course, it's Splat Zones only, but that's top level. It's pretty much favorite way to run
Yeah.
in general, right? Just Splat
Not a fan
Zones.
not a fan myself, but I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
it's definitely a mode that the Western scene has taken kind of as their own and really made it expanded on it, right? They've expanded on doing whatever they can to be good at that game mode. Of course, with Worlds being just like what, a couple weeks away, a couple days away, we're
Yeah,
gonna
pretty
see
much.
what's gonna happen there. But what are your thoughts on Kyo's tournament? Like, how do you feel that it's actually being implemented in something that's not uh I don't even know what I want to call it. Not pure gimmick, how it's had like a gimmick behind it, where it's just kind of like it's gonna be normal stuff. You're just limited to what you can use.
Right. So here's what I think. Now, personally, I don't see this like changing too much. Like
Hmm.
the thing is with this limitation that they have on the specials that they're gonna put, right? To where you limit to one cooler, one Zuka, one crab, you know, and I don't see that changing much because that's changing much of like, especially considering that you want to have those mainstay specials, so you still allow them.
Yeah,
But limiting double Zuka obviously is huge because that way you can't put shot and squeeze it together. Like, and that's like the thought process there because shot and squeeze it together, right? Yes, Zuka is really good, and that is like the main reason why you would run it. But you got to think about shot and squeeze as weapons. Those are both top tiers. And the thing is with those specials like Cooler and Strikes and Zuka is that for some reason Nintendo put all of those the best specials on those top tiers,
yeah,
those top tier weapons. Like, and so by doing that, they're going to also limit the amount of weapons you see like that. So you got to pick. You want a squeezer, you want that Neo machine, or you want that shot. Which one you going to pick? Obviously, if you're smart, you probably pick the shot.
yeah.
Obviously, like so that's probably what that is, and that's what that's about. So I do see the appeal in that. There's also like you rarely see it, but teams tend to run double cooler. Some teams
I've
do.
seen a
Some
little
people
bit of
do.
that in the HP for Heroes tournament. I went against a couple teams
Yeah,
that did run double cooler.
yeah, and it's very valuable, especially on certain maps where you have that double cooler to where you're always guaranteed that quick respawn and always access to a special. But it's a double-edged sword. It can be really good or it can be really bad, especially if you get locked down and start to get back in.
Yes.
Kind of ish thing. So, yeah, I think the limitations are good. Now, when we talk about the weapons that are banned, you said it was pencil, scope, and e-liter, correct?
Yeah,
Those
it was
weapons are banned.
Pencil, E-liter, and Splat Chargers. I'm pretty sure that includes scoped versions.
Yeah,
Are banned from this tournament. This happening this weekend. By Kyo on Sendu Inc. At 1 p.m.
right. Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, even I necessarily don't agree with banning like the charges. I agree with banning pencil. I wholeheartedly agree with banning pencil.
Yeah.
Like that needs to go. Like banning pencil makes sense, but I don't necessarily agree with banning charges. However, I do understand why he did it. There is a method to that, and I think I understand it.
Hmm.
I'm not going to put words in Kyo's mouth, but I'm going to go based on what I think it is.
Yeah.
So banning the E leaders and banning the scope chargers makes sense. Even though I don't agree with it, it makes sense. I understand. And the reason for that is because we're limiting specials, right? So in this tournament, you're only going to have access to like your top tier specials. Will probably be like I imagine the strongest team will probably run something like let's throw something out there like Zap,
Yeah.
V bucket, shot, and something with range to crossfire. Not much I can think of right now on top of my head, but let's go with that, right?
Yeah.
Or foil squeezer. You know what? Foil squeezer.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Why
Let's
not?
go with that. It's a little bit of range for crossfire, right? See, the thing is that Charger is without a doubt the best backline in the game. Charger is the best backline. And so when you get rid of a team's chance to run double Zuka to counteract the Charger, because that's the only reason why you really don't see a lot of scopes and a lot of e-leaders, is because double Zuka is a thing. That is a mainstay of competitive double Zuka. And you run Charger into that, or you run like an e-leader into that, you're kind of cooked. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
So if we're getting rid of double Zuka, then you kind of gotta limit the Chargers, unfortunately, because if they didn't, then e-leader and scope would just kind of run through that entire tournament without any resistance, and that is the truth. The only resistance would be cooler, but if the Charger is, that good and your team has some footing, then good luck, especially when you only have one Zuka, to like move them around. And I
Yeah.
guess that is like the thought process that went there. So if you limit the specials, there are certain weapons that can take advantage of that. And I guess they saw Charger as one of them, and it makes sense. I can't really knock them for it. Though I don't agree with banning Chargers, I do understand the thought process, and I can get behind it, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I gotta agree with you there. I think something that I thought about this as you were saying it, and kind of like something I thought about while I was thinking of the topic for this episode for this week, is when it comes to these type of limitations and noticing that Kyo did have Chargers banned, it's really opening up the door to force fights.
Other backlines.
Right. Yeah. Take away the backlines, take away the double Zuka to either get rid of backlines or
Mm-hmm.
take away the ability to kind of play safe. Right. Because I know that was a big issue that a lot of top players I've seen mention on their own personal streams, is that it felt hard to actually, in a sense, engage with other players because their whole premise of was stay safe until Zuka's out, and when Zuka's launch, it's somewhere far away where you can't really hit it, and of course it's like one frame to react to try not die to Zuka. Then you
Yeah,
also have the
exactly.
premise of Kraken cheese, right? Everyone jumps back to their spawn once they're coolered. Kraken goes in and scores the power clams. There goes the match. So it really kind of shows that Kyo's letting the opportunity appear where you're able to have to force those fights more frequently, and there's less opportunity to stay safe. It's really going to shine through with the teams this weekend. Who's going to be good at those close-up fights? Who's going to be able to turn
Yeah,
those
no.
1v1s into 2v1s and really break off of those opportunities to not only win games, but win sets and maybe even win the tournament?
Yeah, you also just added more for me to talk about. Putting your head, it's like it's going to force that engagement. One thing I forgot to mention is that when you take out Chargers, there are a lot of weapons that become viable now
Yeah.
that Charger is gone.
Yes.
Rapid blasters for rapid blasters, more specifically, also become viable, right? Heavy splatlings, right? Those also get to actually play the game now that Charger isn't hawking down on them.
Yeah.
Explosure, you can start seeing a lot of explosures on zones depending on the map. You start to see that more because the main reason why you don't see an explosion is because Charger existed, aka Pistol as well. Pistols are Chargers, so you get the point. Like you will now see a lot more of those backline or other backline weapons get a chance to shine now that Kyo has banned the Chargers. Like I said, I don't agree with it, but there's a method to it, and I understand it, and I am seeing it. Also, including that, yes, it is very hard to engage with people. I'm not one to talk. My team runs Pencil Shot, 96, and Octobrush.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'm not one to talk. We counter pick up Clan Blitz. What? I'm not one to talk, so I completely get it. But it is very hard to engage with people, and a lot of the times you're kind of forced to engage with people. Like if you're playing Clan Blitz and that team has a 96 or anything like that, then you are forced to fight the entire game. You can't sit there and wait. But being forced to fight sucks because you got to fight even when you don't have an opportunity to fight. So it's like, dang, I'm going to sit here and wait for Kraken cheese, or I go in and basically die and then give them a free push. It's like,
Yeah, I got
it
you.
is. It really sucks. And for zone specifically, when you're forced to sit back because the other team is holding Zuka, also sucks. Because there's a lot of times you want to be aggressive and go in, but I can't do that because there's a Charger / there's a Pencil looking down on me from the other side of the map, also threatening to have two Zukas on that side. I understand the method to what Kyo is banning. Like I said, I don't agree with banning Chargers because it unfortunately it eliminates a big player base that plays the weapon. But I will say this: good backlines are able to flex to other backline weapons. Those are the best backlines. So this will really show who got the best backline. type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And one, I just thought of it now with when you mentioned the whole backline thing, right? Yeah, a problem with having backlines, and even like I just thought about this with heavies, right? Like since you brought up the opportunity for heavies to come out, with explos for zones to come out, a problem that they was always had with those, besides other backlines like E-liter, was Zuka spam. If one
Mm-hmm.
Zuka user missed their shots, you have another one lined up to ready to go, and while they're ready to use theirs, the other Zuka player is building up their Zuka again. So when you take away the chance for more than one Zuka player, that one Zuka user has to be very precise with their timing and their aim
Yep.
when they're using that special, because now you don't have 2 to 3 Zukas you can launch repeatedly in order to take space or do like half damage to get players weak enough to the point where you're able to eliminate them for a little bit of time. This really opens up
Exactly.
that door where now players might have to start thinking more strategically how they're going to use that Zuka. Is it going to be at a good time to make sure they can try to get a pick, or are they just going to be stuck in that rut where, oh yeah, I'll just wait for another Zuka. Oh wait, I'm the only Zuka. My shot shouldn't have missed. I need to be
My
better
shots
with it.
matter.
Yeah, your shots actually matter. And of
Look,
course,
like
it's lottery, but still.
look, my team, we run one Zuka. Like even in this tournament, we run one Zuka. We have one shot player usually. When it's either me or Jolly Bird, we're the two shot players. When one of us are there, I will if he's playing and Lucio isn't there, I get on V bucket. Because and the reason for that is because I don't know how to play Squeezer, and I unfortunately cannot play Neo Machine. Well, I can't play Neo Machine, but I think V bucket is better.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is I don't think double shot is good personally. Like, okay, it's not bad. Double shot is I'm lying. Double shot is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't give a comp the coverage it needs. At least our comp, it doesn't give the comp the coverage that we need. That's why V bucket is there. It gives the coverage that we need. But the thing is with double Zuka is that you usually see a shot or a machine or a shot and squeezer, and it's because those weapons give different coverages, and that's why it works. So on our team, we run one Zuka each time, and me and Jolly Bird have expressed anger in this to where we say when we miss our Zuka shots, it's like, God damn it! Like it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah,
Because
I
we're
get
one
that.
Zuka.
Yep. Yeah, especially with my team, like on Secret Elixir, we sometimes, if you've fought us before, right? This goes for anyone watching, of course, you as well. Sorry, we've run. I'm not ashamed to say we've run double shot. We've run double Zuka.
Mm-hmm.
It's become just because that's what the players on our team, just happen to play, and sometimes you can't escape that opportunity where someone can go on something else because they don't have that in
Right.
their weapon pool. But when you miss your Zuka shots, it sucks. And now you have to
It
try to
sucks.
rely on someone else's Zuka shots to try to kind of uh, cover you for the shots you miss and hope they can land it. And if they don't, well, there goes 6 Zuka shots that got no advantage for your team. And now you're in a situation where you have no specials because your resources were all used up. And now you have to try to play for your life. You have to try to win your engagements. That's going to be focused on your main weapon. And it makes it so hard. And,
It does.
obviously, stream wise, as viewers, right? Viewers watching a stream, if they see someone get a triple with Zuka, it's not too surprising because we've seen it since day one Zuka started being meta. Yeah, it's cool.
Literally.
It feels nice when you're the one using it, but when you're watching it, it's like whatever. But now that it's gonna be limited, I feel like we're gonna feel a little bit more special about those Zuka shots.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, right? Like I put it to you like this: back in Cooler Minute, when you were on Persistence, I know you remember this. When me and you both played double shot, but we didn't have a cooler, and people were like, "Oh, why are they not running cooler?" And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but when you have a double shot and you have two Zuka players, well, I mean, cooler is like, of course, important. I'm not knocking that. You definitely
Yeah.
need it, but you're still going to get value with that double Zuka with the
Yep.
double shot, right? But like
Absolutely.
now, persistence, we're running one Zuka because that's just the weapons we play. We
Yeah.
just run one Zuka,
Yeah.
and each time I shoot a Zuka or each time Jonathan shoots a Zuka, we have to make sure that we get mileage, we get something out of that Zuka, whether it be a little bit of chip or positioning or some space that we can take, or just one kill at least. We have to make sure this gets value because we're just running one.
Yeah.
When you're running two, it kind of doesn't matter unless you pop at the same time like idiots and you don't do anything with it.
Yeah. No.
because how it,
Exactly.
because how it works is one person pops Zuka, and you push in, you get that space, and then you follow with another Zuka into that space you already just took, and then you just do what you need to do after that, basically. So yeah, no, that's limiting it to one Zuka is going to be huge. And then we also got to talk about the other specials like limited to one crab. Two crabs, now I don't think two crabs is that good anymore. I also find it to be a hindrance because I just think that crab isn't like that special anymore. But crab is still really good. One crab is still really good.
Yeah.
So limiting it to two. See, the thing is, it depends. It's a comp dependent matchup thing. Like if a
Yep.
team is running double crab and you have the right weapons and the right special to deal with it, then okay, then you're going to be fine. Now, if a comp doesn't have anything to deal with that, then shoot, good luck. So I do understand limiting that. He didn't limit strikes now, did he? I'm wondering.
I don't believe so. No, yeah. Looking at it, the only things limited is Zuka, Crab, and Cooler.
Okay, so I don't think strikes are a problem. So I think keeping double strikes is cool, but I don't know. I kind of imagine that. Well, it is zones only, so maybe not. But but let's say we start implementing this to like basically all tournaments. I think double strikes would be a problem if we're limiting certain specials. You know what I'm saying? Especially
Yeah.
on tower control. I think that would be like a big problem if there's no limitation for strikes as well. But that's just my opinion. But it might not be like that because strikes aren't the best special anyway. No, I'm lying. They're a really good special, but I don't think you need two of them. One is enough.
Yeah,
Type
and
of thing.
yeah, exactly. And I think that has to fall down to with how the special is in general, right? So a lot of specials that are used now in the current meta are used to be very aggressive. Whether you have Zuka, right? You have Kraken, you have of course Cooler to
Yeah,
push you in the fight repeatedly. You could go in, you could feed, and then you're back, you jump to your back line, which would be the pencil ideally, or whatever support you have, and then you're back in the fight once more. So it really challenges the concept of if you were to limit the strikes, it's not too, it'd be hard to limit it just because of how hard it is to kind of create that space, right? Because the strike
yeah.
user can't swim with their strikes, they can't move fast
For
with their
some
strikes.
reason,
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're just stuck standing there and
but
have
we
to
can swim
throw
with
them.
Zuka. But we can swim with Zuka though. I still don't understand this shit to this
Yeah.
day. It makes no damn
Dude,
sense.
exactly. And it makes it so hard with that because that special now you have to hope your other players can go ahead and feed in with the strikes or kind of push in with those strikes to get advantage of that space you create because I mean as I'm sure you can agree with this, when we fight a player who's using strikes, we move out of the way, then we paint back over that strikes did
Pretty
nothing
much.
unless players are being
Unless
aggressive
the
with it.
players moved in.
Yes.
Like I called out to my team all the time in the VC. I'm like, they're popping strikes. And then if I'm looking on, if I have a visual on the other opponents, I'll be like, nobody moved in with that shit. We're good.
Yep.
Take the space back immediately. Like, and that's what it is. So that's why I don't think strikes will be a problem because
Yeah.
it's just you have to force value off of that special type of thing.
Yeah,
Kinda get
exactly. And so you mentioned it a little bit just ago. Other tournaments, right? Potentially using limitations to I don't want to say change the meta, but shift how players in a community-run tournaments use these weapons and specials to their advantage. If How would you feel if other tournaments started like let's say you played in the next proving grounds, which is I think they're moved to a monthly, correct? So
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
if the next proving grounds you played in, you were limited. I mean, obviously you mentioned your comp already doesn't have like spam of this, but I guess fighting it wise, right? How would you feel if you played next proving grounds and there were these limitations attached?
Oh my god. Okay, so for me personally, that would be heaven because that would be heaven, especially if you include like okay, well if pencil's banned then that's a plus, but it
Yeah.
probably won't be.
Yeah.
Let's talk as if pencil isn't banned.
Yeah.
If we're limiting like just specials,
Yep.
then it pretty much becomes a lot easier for us, my team, because a lot of the issue that we tend to have um with teams or our comp that we run in general is that we get screwed by double Zuka. We really do. I think every comp does get screwed by double Zuka. Let's
Yeah.
be honest.
Yep.
Like, but it is real apparent that we get screwed by double Zuka, and it sucks. But truth be told, I think I'm lying. Like, I honestly don't think it would change that much for us. See, what we struggle with is certain weapons. We struggle with certain weapons like pencil and like stampers mainly specifically. We our comp is not built to handle a stamper. It
Yeah.
is not. And so it wouldn't change that much for us, but I do know this that it will feel good to play knowing that we don't have to worry about double Zuka.
Yeah.
As long as my team, I'm tired of staring down shot and squeezer. I really am. I'm so sick of that.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of staring down shot and squeezer. I like the how the limitations of the special are like limiting Zuka will force them to pick one. Either go
Yes.
shot or you go squeezer. I'm done staring down both of them. I hate that. I hate it so much.
Yeah, and I think it also gives a great open opportunity for the viewers, right? Because that's the other half of
Yeah.
this battle, right? Besides having to fight it, and I agree with you there. I don't know how many times I have to keep fighting a shot, a squeezer, or even like a weapon like the Neo machine that's gonna have a Zuka to support it as a panic pop, because Zuka at this point is still a pretty good panic pop option depending on the situation you're in. But it makes it annoying and it gets tiring, especially for viewers to watching these streams, right? How many times are they going to watch a grand finals and the tournament ends because somebody got a triple bazooka, or somebody,
Yeah.
tapped somebody enough with pencil and they pop cooler and their teammates are back rushing the tower, or they're rushing in clams. It's repetitive and it's kind of lackluster and it's not entertaining.
Exactly.
So,
I'll speak as somebody who currently only runs one Zuka
mhm,
and one cooler. We run one special, my team.
yeah,
We play with these limitations all the time because that's just what we do.
yeah,
That's our weapons we play. It forces you mechanically and as like a player, an individual, to play good. Like we don't get our value off of special. Of course, we have Kraken. Okay, so we do get value off of
yeah.
that. Let me stop lying.
Little crack and
I'm not
cheese.
afraid to admit it. We're corny. We're corny. Okay, we
Yeah.
have Kraken. All right, but it, main and weapon wise and just playing wise, we have to get value on our own.
Hmm.
Our pencil player cannot just sit there and put coolers down, which I mean they can, but they can't. They
Yeah.
still need to get chip and get picks instead of just kind of sitting there and putting coolers out. We have to get value. Me as a shut, because we're only running one Zuka, I can't sit there and spam it, because if I try to sit there and spam it, I'm just gonna waste time and I'm giving that space. I gotta go fight shit.
Yeah.
I do. Like when I'm playing shot for my team, I have to go fight because we're only running one Zuka. That's what I have to go do, and that's just what it is. It forces you to get value for yourself instead of just relying on that special. So I think it's good.
Yeah, it challenges the mechanical skill of a lot of players. Now, no longer are they going to just paint forward, back up a couple feet, and then fire Zuka to create that space. Now you have to win your engagements. You have to hope that you're going to land your shots, or just hope that your teammates are close enough to you and you have that team synergy to win those fights and create that space for you, and no
Mhm.
longer rely on spamming specials. And I think I really like that. And I would love to see tournaments maybe slowly start implementing it. Now, Popkin did mention on the podcast that when it comes to low level tournaments, right? Certain low level tournaments, like maybe from the Ink Up, Little Squid League, and a couple other ones that are opening that have opened up from time to time. There's not so much of a need to have those kind of limitations, because low
There you
level
go.
you can run almost anything, and not only are players having fun, but it's really exciting to watch. I mean, I haven't
Yeah,
watched from the Ink Up in a while, but every time I see like like tweets on Twitter of players who were competing, it's so interesting to see the weapons they were using. It's like, wow, like I wish mid level was like that. I wish top level was like that. Like, how often do you see a player in top level running maybe like Dowager Dualies that just came out, right? You're not gonna see that.
yeah, and I can I'm gonna be straight up honest because I'm very straightforward. You know me,
Yes,
Cactus. So
sir.
hear me out here. Here's the thing: the difference between that mid level, high level, and top level, and for low level, is that in low level, to be blunt, I'm gonna be straight up. The players are not good enough to play meta. They're not informed yet. That's what I think. They're not informed yet to play meta like that. If they were to go in and run squeezer, shot and squeezer together with a pencil, I don't think they have the mechanical skill and that thought process and coordination to be able to do that right
Hmm.
and just win every game because their comp is just better. They're still going to lose because they're just not on that level yet. They're not informed yet. When
Yeah.
they are ready and they are on that form yet, then they'll win. Case in point, example team that won ink with a meta comp or with a somewhat meta comp, what you might call it, Red Pacific. They
Yes.
they came in with, I think, a shot, a pencil, a stamper, and octobrush. Now that's not exactly meta, but you know what? For the point I'm trying to make, we're going to use them anyway because they were that good and of that level and that developed. That's why they won that low ink with that comp that just basically destroys everything else
Yeah.
because they were good enough and they were ready to be in mid level. That's why they won. Other teams and other players who aren't ready cannot play those meta weapons and win because they're not developed enough. and that's why low level and other low level terms are interesting to watch because they just play what they're good at and go and try to win because you're able to do that in low level.
Yeah, no, I agree completely, and I mean we've seen it repeat itself, time and time again. Teams that win low link win with very, like you said, pretty semi-meta, casual comps that they like to run themselves. But when you start looking at how those teams progress into further tournaments like SOS, like Proving Grounds, like
They
Triton Cup, like Paddling Pool, you notice they have to start shifting to what the mid to top level players play.
yes,
They adjust to the
exactly.
meta. So I can agree with you there that I've lived it through myself when I was moving up the low level ladder in playing in those low level tournaments, we would run all kinds of crazy comps. I used to be on a Division 8 team. Shout out Cephalosaurus, who's not around anymore. But we ran with a Hydra player, and once I moved on from them and played for Aquatic Vanguard, I noticed that skill gap of how
Yeah,
crazy the weapons you had to play was if you not only just wanted to have like not want to say have fun, but you wanted to win.
you
You
wanted to win
Yeah.
exactly,
You
and
couldn't
that
just
is
play those goofy comps anymore. You had to actually play what the game and what other players wanted and needed to win those matches.
exactly like okay. I'm gonna be blunt. Here we go, Cactus. Story time. Nigga, we can be stubborn all we want. We can sit up here and say anything can win, and that is true.
Yes.
Anything can win if you put the effort and time to it.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
to be completely blunt, if you don't have at least one top tier in your comp, you're not winning shit.
Hmm.
And that is the truth.
Yeah.
If you don't have one top tier, whether it be a zap, a shot, a pencil, if you don't have at least one of those in your comp, one of those top tiers, you're not winning anything. And
Yeah.
not at mid level, not at high level, and definitely not at top level. Don't be top level. Oh boy, you don't got one of those, you're definitely not winning shit.
Yeah.
And that is the truth. When you are low level, those play like I said, I'm a pre myself, but they're not developed enough to run those meta weapons and win. But when you get to mid level, and then you fight people who are actually developed, have the mechanical skill, and you try to run your Mickey Mouse cop that worked in those low level tournaments, you will get crushed.
Hmm.
And that is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very telling on how these tournaments have when it comes to teams that have to run certain comps. And I remember just when thinking about it once again, I keep referencing Pop Gun, but he had a great segment about it on the podcast regarding this topic. Is that you know it's very hard to figure out when you should and shouldn't start banning weapons and specials, right? Like I said, he mentioned that in S2 they wanted to ban those very popular weapons like Stingray and armor and everything. S2, the start of it, right? We saw double splash, double machine meta because Crab and Booyah was king. But
It
now
was
we're
good.
looking at a meta that hasn't changed in a couple of months.
Yeah.
That's very hard to adjust, especially when Nintendo's not releasing patches that fixes that, which again not expected to. They cater more towards the turf war fans and how turf war is affected with these weapon changes rather than the competitive side because let's be real, we are that 0.01% of the Splatoon scene.
Yeah. And I don't know if I should be doing this, but I am reading chat. They said that if anything, pencil was just back up diversity. Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
We said
no,
that. Yeah, we
absolutely.
said that earlier. But
And yeah.
I have another low level team to give an example of. Let's take AK Ping. When
Mhm.
AK Ping
Yes.
won No Ink, I think they ran Wiper, Rapid, Blob, and it was crazy. They played
Yes.
some crazy weapons.
Very unique
They
comp.
but when they pulled up against Torrent in Division 4 semifinals, them niggas were running double shot pencil. Like it's
Yeah,
not a joke.
they had to
It's
switch
not
up.
a joke. It's not a joke. You have to switch when you get to that. When you get on a low level, you are forced to play those good weapons. Like it's not funny. I watched Psycho, the insane wiper player, pull up with a shot, and I'm like, "There's no way, bro."
Yeah, and that shows it really is telling when you see things like that that unfortunately we have to obey to how the meta runs in this game because that's what wins games, that's what wins sets, that's what wins tournaments, that's what gives you results. And as much as it sucks, right? I know the
Mhm.
number one thing players and coaches and even top level players always say is that I know I always say this whenever I go to play at lands. I want to have fun. but I also want to
I
win.
want to win. I
And
also
I'm
want
not
to
gonna
win.
go play at a LAN with a comp that's that especially if because I'm on the East Coast, right? I'm from New Jersey for those who don't know, so I have to
Yeah.
fly out pretty much to every event. Low Tide City, I flew for Genesis X, fly out to Riptide, and if I'm gonna compete, I want a good placement. I want to place high. I want to place well. So I'm going to look for players and teams to pair up with that are going to run pretty close to meta because I know it's going to get me that result I'm looking for. I mean, just
Mhm.
recently when I went to Genesis X, my team and we placed, I believe, seventh, and our seventh or 13th. I forget how it works. Land
And
placements are very
y'all were
iffy.
running. Y'all were pretty much running like meta. I was
Yeah,
watching y'all.
yeah, we were pretty much running meta, and it's what helped us win a lot of games. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. Am I happy I got the result I did? Absolutely. And I still had a good time because we were able to at least have one or two players not play meta. So as long as you have, like you mentioned, you got to have at least one meta weapon if you want a chance at, getting those results you're looking for to get those
Mhm.
wins.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, we've been talking about this for a minute, but just the last thing I think I'm gonna say is that Cooler being in the meta and being as strong as it is allows for this flexibility.
Yes.
It just allows
Yep.
for all of it. Like you could like Cooler allows you to run almost anything in a
Yeah.
comp as long as you have a top tier. Like why Persistence runs
Hmm.
Octobrush. Why does that work? Oh, we have Cooler. We have a pencil.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have a pencil with
Absolutely.
Cooler.
Cooler is
That's why
king.
that shit works.
Yeah, I mean, when I interviewed FT Win on a previous episode, I'm not sure if it was Keo or Bursty. Somebody mentioned that if you're not running Cooler, you're not winning games. Like you
Nope,
cannot
you're not.
play at anything above low level and expect to win without Cooler. And if you do, you're just mechanically diffing the other team.
Hey, I'm just saying, we ran no Cooler for a while when you were on the team Cactus. So I guess we were diffing some people.
We
I'm just
were.
saying.
Listen, we were.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No,
I'm
it's
just
where
saying.
it's true because I mean, if you're able to outpace Cooler, you have something special going on. But as we climb that ladder, as we escape, I'm confident to say that persistence is Div 3 plus, 100%. As we escape that Div 3 ladder, going into like fighting more teams that are around our level or higher, it's very hard to diff
Yeah,
those teams without Cooler. It's so
yeah,
hard.
we had to put our backline on Pencil when she even knew, and
Yeah.
she agreed. So yeah, it really it's just really like that out here. It really is.
Yeah. So, we'll change gears slightly here. What is a tournament you would want to see start maybe implementing certain limitations, and if you want, and like what limitations would you want to see?
A tournament that I think would like can use the limitations.
Yeah, like
That I
either
want to
they
see.
either use it or would think would be a good start to kind of open the door for these limitations of rules to be put into place that isn't like a gimmick tournament or a random tournament hosted by some other player.
Well, it can't be a low level tournament. They already don't follow that shit. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I
Fair,
know that.
fair.
But if
Yeah.
I were to think of a tournament that I think would be a nice starting point just to see how this will go, I want to say it should be a tournament to where all form of levels like come together and play
So
type of
maybe
thing.
like SOS.
Yeah, I think SOS would be good. Yeah, sure. Let's go with SOS. Yeah, SOS. Because I think SOS will also give you like possible. It can give you the most data, considering that I think SOS plays more games than any other tournaments there probably is. It can probably give you the most data.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, if we cross over to the side of Dapple, I would say for Dapple's side of tournaments, paddling pool would be another great one to also maybe slowly like just as a test, right? Because you gotta hit up both productions if you're gonna say a tournament. So IPL's SOS Dapple's paddling pool I think would be very interesting starts because those are not capped tournaments. You could be a Div 11, you could be Div X, if Div even really matter that much anymore. We were way past Ludi at this point. But, those different levels of players would have a pretty good time. I wouldn't say they would have a good time, but it'd be very interesting to see how these different levels of players would take this limitation into effect with their own gameplay.
yeah, exactly. It will be definitely be interesting to watch. Ooh, man, that was fun
Yeah.
talking about that.
Absolutely.
My closing thoughts.
Yeah.
Right, it's closing thoughts. Yeah, my closing thoughts is more or less I think that the special limitations is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that we should definitely try to limit the amount of specials that you have, especially those really strong ones. But
Yeah.
limiting it to one special per comp is going to give a lot of diversity
Mm-hmm.
because especially when most of the top tiers tend to have the best specials, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's a
talk about
topic for
that
another day, right?
for another day. But I do think we shouldn't be banning weapons. I don't think well, besides the ones with screen. Well, obviously that's not banned. That's like more of a gentleman's opt in, opt out. We talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
But we shouldn't be banning weapons, basically. Like it shouldn't be like outright ban type of thing. Like I think leave the charges alone, leave those there, yada 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 type shit. And that's
Yeah.
what I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable closing thought to have, and I agree with that. When you start limiting certain specials to like again, like let's say ones. Let's start with Zuka, right? Let's say a tournament out there that's run weekly, monthly, whatever it may be, decides, hey, one Zuka only. Now you open up the door for players to maybe, of course, still run Pencil or run Zap, and of course a shot or something. But now you get to experiment the other two weapons, right? There's your cooler user, there's your shot user, or your Zuka user. You have two other weapons and specials that you could start working with. Now, of course, you could bring in
Yeah,
the Crab, you could bring in Stamper, you could bring in maybe even Splash, of course, because Splash has a lot of great paint output. But that allows so much diversity in weapons and other specials that aren't used as frequently. I know ProChar released a video kind of recapping, I believe it was his event, on the weapons and specials that were used consistently, and Pencil was picked like 90%, which is insane to think about. But it allows more specials to have a new shining of light. I mean, I know Reef Slider's been kind
yeah,
of popping off for zones lately because it
yeah. It
caps
has.
so easily.
Yeah, it has. Unfortunately, no really good weapons have it except for Tetris. But the problem with Tetris is that well, cooler exists, so it kind of
Yeah.
neutralizes. It's kind of what it does. But back to I want to mention one more thing about Kyo's tournament.
Yeah.
Banning pencil opens up a lot. Like
Mhm.
opens up for those other cooler weapons like Dynamo, Zap. And you see a lot of trials. Like you see, I already know we see a lot of Zap and Tri Slosher, but as far as top level goes, at the highest level of play, you see more pencil. Like, and honestly, we're starting to see more pencil in general. Like, we're starting to see a lot more pencil in general over any other cooler option because, well, main weapon wise, pencil is just better than every other weapon with cooler. Like, and that is basically kind of what it is. So by banning pencil, but in the Kyo's tournament, we're going to see Zaps, we're going to see Dynamos, so Tri Sloshers, and but if people are feeling quirky, maybe A Street, but nah, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, with that rounding off the closing thoughts, Stormy, thank you so much for joining me on the episode. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out or shout out whoever, whatever you would like, so we know where to find you and maybe a follow up with you, whatever socials it might be.
I'm going to embarrass somebody. I don't know if they're watching, but shout out to my lovely girlfriend, Wug. Love you so much. Let me go ahead and embarrass you real quick. Yeah, you can put in my DMs, yell at me later. Anyways, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me on Twitter at Stormy Spam. You can find me on Twitch doing dumb things at Stormy Senpai 2. And if you want to look at my YouTube channel where I barely post anything at all, but I have a lot of subscribers, Stormy Senpai. So thank you guys so much.
That was Stormy, and of course, I am your host, Glitch Cactus. Thank you all so much for watching the Cactus Patch, and we'll see you for the next episode, hopefully next week. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good rest of your day, evening, or night.